Technology changes. Hey, we have the advent of telephones, then we get cell phones. But, you know, the guiding principles, the law upon which we base many of our decisions was written over 200 years ago. In the U.S. Constitution, we have law that still governs us, but it was written long before this technology evolved. So how do we use that law in today's world of changing technology? Well, that brings us to this week's case. It involves a real case, real man, is a felon who was using a cell phone. He was later accused of being involved in selling drugs. Well, at the time of his arrest, he was confronted by the police and he had his cell phone with him. The police asked him for his cell phone. They took it and they immediately retrieved from his cell phone the actual number of that very cell phone. With that information, they were later able to subpoena the cell phone records, and they were able to put together a case in which they demonstrated that there were co-conspirators and a number of other people involved in the drug deals that this guy was later convicted of. Well, before the trial went forward, he, the defendant, said, you know, you can't have that information because the Fourth Amendment says you can't engage in unlawful searches and seizures. You guys never got a warrant. You just asked me for my cell phone, you looked at it, and bang, you got that information, which you used later as a chain of events to convict me. I don't think you should have had it. I think that should have been suppressed, shouldn't have come into the courtroom, and I probably wouldn't be convicted. All right. Well, the case went up on appeal. Case went up on appeal. And on appeal, the court, Seventh Circuit Court, United States, reviewed the case and they said, okay, you know, this is really a tough one here. This is really a tough one here. Because honestly, technically, there should be a search warrant just to even access the phone number of the phone that he was holding at the time of his arrest. But we've got some problems here. And the problems that exist, and as the police officers and the district attorneys were arguing, problems which exist is the fact that the cell phone was one that also had the numbers of a number of the co-conspirators. He, the defendant, could have alerted those co-conspirators and they could have remotely wiped the cell phone, removing the information from it, including the phone number in the cell phone, and therefore the police wouldn't have been able to find out who these co-conspirators were and put together the case. So the police had a real urgency here to get that information immediately. And the violation in privacy to this man was really very, very, very small. I mean, it was a cell phone. It was there. The police used it for probably less than 60 seconds as they accessed the number and returned it to him. Therefore, in an effort to balance and weigh this, in an effort to balance and weigh the right and privacy to your own personal well-being, i.e. your records, phones, etc., with a police urgency to try and prevent crime from happening and prosecute those who are committing crimes, we decide that in this instance the balance falls to the police. And we find that the police acted reasonably. They did not engage in any significant invasion of privacy. The phone was returned to the defendant almost immediately. And therefore, we find that since the invasion of privacy was very minor, there is not a violation of the Fourth Amendment, at least not a significant violation or a sufficient violation to warrant throwing that information out. So we allowed that information to basically be presented in court. All right. So that was what the decision was. Okay. So why do we bring you this? Why do we bring you this case as we bring you cases every week? So you can understand how the law, in fact, figures things out. We've got basically a constitution over 200 years old in the United States, and yet, as we point out, our technology changes. So how do those freedoms that were guaranteed in the U.S. Constitution translate into modern 21st century technology? Well, here we've seen an example of it, and we'll see other examples of it. We bring you this so you understand that in the real world and how in the real world the law really works. I'm David Allen.